Hello and welcome back to my channel. How are you doing? I hope you are fine. So today we are going to go through the theories of entrepreneurship. But before we go through the theories, we have here questions to answer when defining an entrepreneur. In case you're going to define what an entrepreneur is, you need to first make sure that in your definition you are able to answer these questions. Number one, how entrepreneurs act, or say, what is it that entrepreneurs do? And number two is what happens when entrepreneurs act, or what are the outcomes of the entrepreneurs' actions? Three, why people choose to act as entrepreneurs, or what motivates one to become an entrepreneur. So every time you're defining entrepreneurship, you need to make sure that you are able to answer the question of what entrepreneurs do, what are the outcomes of their actions, and what motivates them to do those things that make them to be entrepreneurs. Then we can start off with the economic theories. Economic theory attempts to explain two basic societal issues. How does society create wealth, and how does society distribute wealth among its members? So those are two basic societal issues that economic theory attempts to explain. One, how does the society create wealth? And two, how does the society distribute the wealth among its members? It represents the environmental perspective in which entrepreneurial activity results from equilibrium in supply and demand. To some economists, the entrepreneur is one who is willing to bear the risk of a new venture if there is a significant change or chance for profit. We've seen these various definitions of entrepreneurship in my video that was introducing entrepreneurship. You can check it. You can check it out if you didn't watch it. So here they're telling us that some economists define an entrepreneur as one who is willing to bear the risk of a new venture if there is a significant chance for profit. An entrepreneur can be defined as a risk taker, that is according to Cantillon, 1755. That is Richard Cantillon. Then we have as an innovator, that is Joseph Scampter in 1934. 3, as someone who acts in the face of uncertainty. This is according to Knight in 1921. The other is on the basis of some information not possessed by others. That is according to Kisner, 1967. Then we have as someone who coordinates scarce resources based on superior judgment. This is according to Carson in 1991. Then Peter Drucker of 1909 to 2005 describes the entrepreneur as someone who actually searches for change, responds to it, and exploits change as an opportunity. Then we have Timmons in 1994 to 1920. 1994. He describes entrepreneur mind, which means that the attitudes and behavior of successful entrepreneurs. So for him, he just describes the entrepreneur mind. He describes the attitudes and behavior of successful entrepreneurs, and he says they work hard and are driven by an intense commitment and determined perseverance. They strive for integrity. They burn with competitive desire to excel and win. So what he does is describe the attitudes and behaviors of a successful entrepreneur. That is Timmons. He also describes them as they are dissatisfied with the status quo and seek opportunities to improve almost any situation they encounter. They see the cup half full rather than half empty. They use failure as a tool for learning and shun perfection in favor of effectiveness. They believe they can personally make an enormous difference in the final outcome of their ventures and their life. So the first approach is the equilibrium approach. First approach is the equilibrium approach. This seeks to identify fundamental basic laws to explain the economic system and assume that they are general principles explaining society. It assumes a perfect market system. Individual human actions does not play a significant role. Individual human action does not play a significant role. Entrepreneurs are non-decision makers who follow set rules in carrying out their day-to-day functions. So the equilibrium approach assumes that even selfish consumers and selfish producers, each with their own self interest, could always strike acceptable bargains that could move the market to equilibrium. So he believes that there is equity in a way because both these guys are selfish, they strike a bargain and they're all going to come to a point where they believe that is where they both benefit. So, yeah, that is the assumption. And the limitation of this approach is that these approaches neglect entrepreneurial function because they tend to disregard the power of human action. The limitation of this approach is that it neglects entrepreneurial function because it tends to disregard the power of human action and limit the capacity for entrepreneurial behavior. Limit the capacity for entrepreneurial behavior. And then we have this equilibrium approach. This suggests that opportunities for profit exist within economic systems. Suggests that opportunities for profit exist within economic systems because of inequalities between supply and demand. Entrepreneurial actions are therefore designed to exploit these opportunities that drive economic systems towards equilibrium. Markets by nature are in a state of disequilibrium, and the role of entrepreneurs is to exploit information asymmetries or the irregularities in the markets in order to bring markets to eventual equilibrium. So, that this equilibrium approach believes that markets are in a state of disequilibrium or they are not actually equal, and the role of entrepreneurs is to exploit the information asymmetries, I will say the information gaps or irregularities in the markets in order to bring markets to eventual equilibrium. So to them, opportunities for profit exist within a system because of the inequality. So when there is an inequality or something that is actually not fair in society, an entrepreneur sees it as an opportunity and takes it on, to solve this inequality, and in that way he's able to make profits. In the disequilibrium approach, they assume more voluntarism and less determinism. They show greater evidence of human action, bounded rationality, and concepts of information exchange. The relevance of this approach is that they allow for human influence over economic structures, recognizing the limits of knowledge, information, and expecting greater unknown disequilibrating forces to impact on economic systems in unexpected ways. So we have the other approach is the revolution equilibrium approach. This we had the equilibrium approach as number 2, so this is supposed to be number 3, the revolution equilibrium approach. Uh, this puts greater emphasis on human action and choice, radical rather than incremental changes in economic and social systems. And this goes around about the this revolves around the definition by Joseph Scampter of 1934 that says an entrepreneur is a creative destructor, or entrepreneurship is the process of creative destruction. So it puts great emphasis on human action and choice, the choices that human beings take and the actions they take, rather than just incremental changes in economic and social systems. A normal healthy economy was not one in equilibrium, but one that was constantly being disrupted by technological innovators. So for them, they don't believe in an economy that is at equilibrium and is okay. So to them, they have to destroy something and put something new. They have to keep innovating. Entrepreneurship is a process of creative destruction that initiates and sustains the process of development and helping to move the economy from one state of equilibrium to another. So they believe that the economy is supposed to keep shifting as innovations keep coming also. Scampter's entrepreneur is an innovator in the entrepreneurship arena. The entrepreneur moves the economy out of the static equilibrium. The entrepreneur moves the economic system out of the static equilibrium by creating new products or production methods, thereby rendering others obsolete. That is all for today. That is the economic theories. We shall come back with the psychological theories. We've talked about the revolution equilibrium approach, the disequilibrium approach, and the equilibrium approach under the economic theory. So we shall come back with the psychological theories. Don't forget to subscribe.